prolific hatch that is witnessed all over the world is that of the blue-winged olive. Trout love it, and it's a fly that usually emerges around late May to early June, certainly in the UK, but then does carry us through most of the summer. The fish really do switch on to them, so much so that they can ignore virtually everything else coming down, so it is a pattern that you need to carry. They tend to be size 16s and 18s in hook terms. You can get them smaller, you can get them bigger. Even on certain parts of the river, you know, one river system, you can actually have different size hatches, as odd as that may sound. And then throughout the year, I tend to find that they're bigger early on, and actually you tend then to find further on in the summer that the fly is actually smaller. Not sure the reasoning behind that, but there you go. In my videos there's also going to be a done version of this, or an adult version. This is actually the emerging stage of the blue-winged olive. The hook in the vise, I've actually got a size 16 partridge K4AYSE, which is the straight eye. I do like the straight eye just because it gives better access to the hook point and the gape. I've got that. One little tip I will give you on this is to slightly offset the hook point. So what I do is, I won't do it now, I'll do it at the end, is just slightly bend this hook to one side. I find you get much better hookups as a result. I was losing a lot of fish and couldn't really understand why. Slightly offset it, and it fixed it. So well worth doing on this one, and probably other hooks which are similar. I've got some Primrose Viva 16-0. Again, pretty much my go-to on a lot of my trout patterns. 16-0, 14-0, Primrose, Olive, probably those two shades gets you through most of the flies. Nymphs and dries actually. I got some Cocktailion for the tail. This is actually some dyed olive stuff. It doesn't need to be dyed olive, and also doesn't really need to be Cocktailion. You could use some standard, you know, red game or whatever. But I do like the barred effect of Cocktailion. Let's measure that up and tie it in. Take it around the bend. When you get to that point, one turn underneath just to kick it out slightly, and take the thread back up just to tidy all of that up. Take the thread back down. Body is some basically fine mid-olive dubbing. I've got some blue-winged olive extra fine stuff here. So it's going to take a little bit of that and try and taper the body. So start off really fine, as fine as you can, and just work that up into the thorax. Don't go crazy with the amount of dubbing. Again, you want this thorax section to drop under the water surface because it is an emerger. So don't go too heavy in this section, which may prevent that from happening. So really sparse. And just build it up towards that thorax. It's too much there, just pinch it off. And what I then do is take the thread back over the body, loose turns down, and then loose turns back up as well. So that just dampens that body down, but also it provides a rib. So then I'm going to tie in, I really like the little pearl butt section, so either in the butt or up in the thorax. I actually prefer it, rather than the butt, sorry, I actually prefer it just behind the thorax. So what I do is just catch this in, so any pearl tinsel, just being lazy, should do a pinch and loop, there you go. Just tie that in, take it back down slightly. I just needs a turn, that is it. Tie that off. I do like this on emerger patterns, just to Not sure if it's the air bubble or whatever, but I do find it does help. Just like so. Okay. Dubbing is pine squirrel. So I really like pine squirrel for smaller patterns. When you get up onto the 14s and above, I usually then drop onto fox squirrel. But for the smaller stuff, I do like pine squirrel. Just take a decent pinch here, like so, just in behind that, behind the Mirage tinsel. We then need some CDC. So size 16 would be usually two medium-sized CDC feathers. So just going to pinch 2 out of this bag. So I've got a right mixture here from my winter shooting collection. Nothing goes to waste. So just going to measure 2 feathers up. Measure them up. Just try and get them in the same direction. There's usually a natural curvature. Utilize that natural curvature and just measure them up. That looks good. Like so. And then drape that back over. And quite a long wing. Surprisingly so, when it is emerging, and actually the wing of a blue-winged olive is surprisingly large for the size of the fly, so don't be afraid of protruding it, you know, probably down half the length of the tail. And when you're there, switch hands when you're happy, pinch and loop and tie it down to secure it in. Good touching turns there, just to, and you can see that natural curvature just sloping back over the fly. Come in with your scissors and tie the butts off, or cut the butts off as close as possible. Next thing is, just to finish it off, we got some more of that pine squirrel, and just loosely dub it. You want this pretty buggy in this thorax section. This is obviously the legs or whatever coming out of the shuck, so just loosely dub it like so. Brush it all back, tidy it up, and that's the fly done. Really simple fly, and again I tie that in 16s and 18s, but again you can vary the colour, and basically it will cover, vary the colour, vary the size of the hook, and it will cover a myriad of different olives, not just the blue-winged olive. You'll see that even a sedge, to be honest, looking at it there. See that little pearl section just shining through in that thorax? Personally, I think it makes all the difference. So that's the fly done. So you'll see all the buoyancy and all the scruffiness is up in this thorax, and that abdomen and tail section should just drop through the surface film. Again, now what I do, I bring in my finger and just slightly offset that hook. Just like so. You probably see it now, just going off at a slight angle, and I do believe that makes a slight difference with the hookup ratio. If you forget to do it, or you've already got a batch, just take your pliers, unhooking forceps, and you can do a riverbank version of what I just did, and it'll be fine. So there you go, blue-winged olive emerger, a fantastic fly, certainly at this time of year, which is mid-June. Tie a few up and I hope they bring you luck. Tight lines.